Have you ever set a big money goal like hitting 5K a month in passive income, buying your first home, or scaling your business to $1 million and wondered why it still feels so far out of reach no matter how hard you work? Well, to actually hit those goals, you have to unlearn what you think success looks like and replace it with a strategy that works with your brain, not against it. I went from 6 figures in debt to building a multi-million-dollar company using 3 simple shifts, and in this video, I'm gonna give them to you. Part 1, the laziness lie. For as long as you can remember, you've probably felt this constant pressure to make more money. You finish one client project and 10 more opportunities show up. You get a promotion and hit your income goal, but before you even take just a minute to celebrate, you're already moving the bar higher. And when you're stuck in this rat race, it feels impossible to slow down, take a break, or say no to things. Because before you know it, guilt starts to creep in and you feel like you're falling behind, and maybe you're even calling yourself lazy. But what if I told you that laziness is just a label we give ourselves when we haven't been taught how to manage our money goals sustainably? According to social psychologist Devin Price, laziness is a myth. A lie that we've all just internalized. Somewhere along the way, we start telling ourselves that our self-worth is directly tied to how much money we make. We celebrate hustle culture, the 24/7 grind is glorified, and we've been conditioned to think that if we're not hitting 10K per month, buying our dream home, or investing in crypto, then we're not working hard enough. And we're not doing it right. And this is exactly what Devin calls the laziness lie. And it's not just a personal belief, it's now become a social standard. In 2024, a survey of over 2,000 people across the US and Canada, 68% admitted to working on their vacation. And 35% said they felt an unspoken pressure to work even though they didn't need to. And we internalize this mindset from a young age at school, at work. We hear it from our family and our friends, and now we even see it all over social media as well. We scroll through reels of people talking about waking up at 5 a.m. and starting their daily grind, and it's totally normal to watch people building businesses that make 6 figures of profit per month, and without even realizing it, we start copying it because of something called the social proof principle. And this is the psychological tendency to look around and observe what other people are doing and automatically assume that must be the right way without even thinking twice about it. But what if the actions we're copying are actually flawed? What if the real problem isn't you and you're not lazy, and instead we're trapped in a system that's actually doing more harm than good, especially when it comes to building long-term wealth? And to answer that, we need to redefine what activity means, not just in terms of work, but in terms of how we approach money too. So part 2 is the productivity trap. The traditional definition of productivity is simple: output over input. The more you produce in a certain amount of time, or a certain number of resources or effort, the more productive you are, right? And when it comes to wealth, you'd be considered more productive if you make more money in less time and with fewer resources or less effort. But what if I told you that chasing more money isn't always better? If you're earning more, saving more, and hitting your revenue milestones, that should feel like success. But so many people reach these money goals and still feel burnt out, disconnected, and stuck. And that's because this traditional definition of productivity misses something huge, and that's meaning. Cal Newport came up with the term pseudo-productivity, where we confuse looking busy with actually doing meaningful work. He specifically says it's the use of visible activity as the primary means of approximating actual productive effort. But real productivity isn't just about being busy, it's about achieving results that are meaningful to you in an efficient way. So productivity now has 3 components to it. Output, the amount of work you do or money you make. Input, the time, resources, or effort that you put into getting the output. And meaning, the value of the work being done. Imagine running your own business, working 14-hour days, 7 days a week. From the outside, it might look like you're being productive, but under the surface, you're barely holding everything together. And you're not working because you love it. You're working because you're scared. Scared of falling behind, making less money, being judged, or being seen as lazy. So many of us dive headfirst into setting these big financial goals without ever stopping to ask why we want more in the first place. And the harder you grind without any deeper meaning behind your work, the worse it gets. Because here's the truth, you are not a machine. You are a human being with limits and emotions, needs, and a brain that isn't designed to run at full capacity all of the time. And yet we've taken this old, outdated definition of productivity and tried to apply it to modern life. We judge our worth by how much we produce, how many boxes we tick, how many hours we work, and how much more money we make. But that's the trap of Goodhart's Law. Goodhart's Law says, when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. So for example, maybe you set yourself a goal of making $5,000 a month. At first, it's a helpful benchmark, but soon it becomes the only thing that matters. And you start chasing that number relentlessly, taking on work that you hate, saying yes to every opportunity, ignoring your health and your relationships just to hit the target. You work yourself into the ground, you burn out, and you become less happy, less healthy, and completely disconnected from what really matters. So instead of asking, how can I make more money faster? You need to start asking, what kind of life do I actually want to build with this money? This is what creates the fuel that actually combats burnout. Which brings us to part 3, the practical framework to making it all happen. So step number 1, define your own version of success. I see this all of the time with clients inside the Online Coach Intensive, my mentorship program where I help coaches build full-time businesses in 90 days or less. And every so often, a client will come to me with what sounds like a great idea. It's marketable, it's highly scalable, and the demand is huge, but after a few weeks, they hit a wall. They're overwhelmed, unmotivated, and wondering why it all feels so off. And 9 times out of 10, the problem is this. They choose a goal that looks good on paper, but doesn't actually mean anything to them. And remember, meaning was the missing link in our definition of productivity. If you never stop to define success on your own terms, then you'll chase someone else's version of it, or even worse, relentlessly chase more and more, sacrificing everything else in your life along the way. You could hit every money target that you set for yourself, 5K months, 10K months, 50K months, and still feel unfulfilled. That's the real danger here, because you have no idea where you're going in the first place. And as the philosopher Seneca once said, if a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. So instead of asking, how can I make more money? First ask yourself, what do I actually want this money to create for me? You need to get very clear on what financial success looks like for you. And so right now, I want you to just pause the video and write down your money success criteria list. And take a couple of minutes to actually describe in detail what financial success actually looks like to you. Not what your friends are earning, not what Instagram tells you to want, but the money that feels right for you. And here are some questions to help you get started with this exercise. What is your ideal salary or monthly income? How much money do you need to feel financially secure without constantly worrying about the next paycheck? What does financial freedom look like for you? And is it having enough to travel? Is it investing or spending more time with the people that you love? And what kind of lifestyle do you want to support with the income? What's the balance between work, relaxation, and personal growth? And see, this list then becomes your North Star and a filter for every financial decision that you make. Because when you're clear on what financial success means to you, everything else gets easier. You stop comparing yourself to other people. You stop chasing money for the sake of it, and you start building a business and a life that aligns with your true values. Step number 2 is set progress goals. One of the biggest mindset shifts I teach my clients is that you can't control outcomes, but you can control your inputs. Let's say that you're training for a marathon. An outcome goal would be saying, I want to run 26.2 miles in under 4 hours. Now, don't get me wrong, big ambitious goals can be super motivating. And as we talked about in step 1, you need to set your own goals so that you know which direction you want to go. But the problem with outcome goals, like wanting to run a sub 4-hour marathon, is that they can feel incredibly overwhelming. And your brain jumps straight to the gap between where you are now and where you think you're supposed to be. And that gap can feel so overwhelming, it actually stops you from getting started. Another big problem is that no matter how hard or how much you train for that marathon, there will always be factors beyond your control. It might be super sunny on the day. The course might be a lot busier than you expected, or you might have an awful night's sleep in the week leading up to the race. See, all of these factors affect your result or your outcome goal. And it's the same in business and making money. You can't force a post on LinkedIn to go viral, right? Know with 100% certainty that you're going to get the promotion, or even guarantee that in the first month that your business is going to start hitting 10K in revenue. But what you can do is show up and write for 60 minutes a day. You can reach out to 5 potential clients. You can dedicate 30 minutes each day to learning a new skill. These are progress goals. Not only are progress goals entirely within your control, but they break down big mountains into small, actionable steps. And they're powerful because they start building momentum. Every time you follow through, your brain gets a hit of dopamine. And that reinforces the habit and makes it easier to keep going. And more importantly, it builds trust. Instead of waiting to feel confident, you create confidence through proving to yourself every single day that you're the kind of person who shows up and takes action. So instead of asking, how do I get to the finish line? You ask yourself, what's one small action I can take today that moves me in the right direction towards my financial goals, no matter how tiny? And I'd also love to hear what you write down. So leave it in the comments below. I'm going to definitely reply to you. Step number 3, rest is productive. This might sound counterintuitive, but one of the most powerful money-making tools that you have in your control is rest. And I know this goes against everything that you've been taught, okay? But hear me out on this one. If you've grown up internalizing ideas from hustle culture, rest can actually feel like something that you have to earn, something that comes after all of the hard work is done. But the truth is, without rest, even small progress becomes unsustainable. Think about elite athletes. They don't train nonstop because otherwise they would wind up injured. Instead, they train and then they recover because that's how strength is built, not during the workout, but during the recovery. Unfortunately, when it comes to making money and our goals, we act like we're these machines. Like we should be able to focus all day, every day without taking a single break. But that's when things actually start to fall apart. When you ignore your limits, you just push through and you start making poorer and poorer decisions. And you're more distracted and your creativity runs dry. And you even start resenting the work that you used to love. And I've seen this happen with so many clients. They come to me saying, I don't know what's wrong. I used to be so motivated. And when we start digging into it, the problem isn't the lack of motivation, it's a lack of recovery. They've been stuck in a cycle of constant work and hustling to hit revenue targets without ever taking a moment to refill their tank. But when you start treating rest as a crucial investment, not just a reward, then you actually begin to play the long-term game. And you actually earn more with less effort. So here's a great question for you to ask yourself. What would it look like if rest wasn't something that I had to earn, but something that I scheduled ahead of time, just like any other task to achieving financial freedom? This could mean taking a 10-minute break between client calls. It could mean going for a walk after lunch to clear your mind and spark new ideas for your next business. Taking one full day off per week where you completely disconnect from work, no emails, no meetings, no sales calls, or maybe saying no to low-value tasks, or what I call those $10 per hour tasks, like replying to emails or making social media posts, even if you technically could squeeze them in. Sometimes the most profitable thing that you can do is to step away. Because rest isn't the opposite of making money. It's often the key factor stopping people from actually reaching their financial goals. And so if this video helped you think about money and success differently, I'd love for you to go one step further and learn how to reprogram your brain to make hard work feel super addictive. And in that video, I talk about how you can learn to work with the dopamine in your brain, not against it, in 3 incredibly life-changing tools. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.